Hi everyone, welcome back to the Sports Breakdown once again. So today we are coming here to discuss about Sri Lanka cricket and where it went wrong so far in the 2023 ODI World Cup. So we have Akhila Seneviratne joining us all the way from Sri Lanka, who's a renowned sports journalist who works as a sports journalist for Sri Lanka Sports.com, and he's the founder of the Sidelines. If you check on Twitter and on Facebook as well, you must have seen plenty of posts of him posting so far, basically on the Asian Games so far of Sri Lanka, how Sri Lanka performed, and basically on Sri Lanka cricket as well and its past history. So welcome back, Akila. It's been a long time, but we have some serious issues to talk about when it comes to Sri Lanka cricket. But because nothing's gone well so far for us. So far, we are sitting 10th. We didn't expect what's going on. But Akila, thoughts on how the World Cup has gone so far, like in general, how it has been? Because we've seen certain upsets happening around. I wouldn't call them upsets, but there have been teams who have been performing really well also so far, especially Afghanistan and Netherlands as well. So, your thoughts?
Yeah, I know it's been a while since you had me on the sports breakdown. So it's good to be back. But on a serious note, things haven't been that great for the team so far. So I think, since you mentioned straight away that, given the uh, not yesterday, but the previous match of Afghanistan when they beat England by 69 runs, and Netherlands who beat South Africa on
Yeah,
I think Tuesday.
yeah,
I think it's Tuesday.
yeah, by 38 runs.
By
Yeah,
I think not a very much. I think some 30 odd runs.
yeah,
So like you said that I think we are coming back to another point where it said that World Cup is um, it's a little unfair to have just 10 teams because there are like I wouldn't say emerging, but there are other countries who are like really delivering their best cricket when it's really needed.
hmm.
And I think I mean that's other teams in general, but if you look at Sri Lanka, I think we'll be getting more we'll be able to like discuss more on what went wrong individually as the show goes on. So I think we can go off to the next
Yeah,
question and see what we can
yeah.
discuss as
Let's
what went.
Yeah, so I think right now Sri Lanka are sitting 10th right now in the points table, not looking good. So, will so far, I mean, let's discuss about the serious points so far for Sri Lanka. I mean, when it comes to up, because that's the first thing we are going to discuss about, because right now we saw Vanidu Hasaranga getting ruled out before the World Cup, obviously with that hamstring injury, and he was ruled out for 3 months. Then we had Chamira not being fit. Now he's been included in the reserves. So actually, we had the LPL tournament back in August where Hasaranga, Chamira, all of them were fit and they did well. They played all the matches, but unfortunately got injuries as well. And now we saw Shanaka getting injured. So Akila, when it comes to like the injuries like sustained by these players, because these are key players for Sri Lanka and before World Cup, your thoughts, especially on the workload, especially we are seeing many injuries happening right now. Shanaka getting ruled out of the World Cup suddenly after 2 matches. We are seeing fast bowlers, Pathirana getting injured after 2 matches, but they're fit when it comes to 2020 leagues and franchises. We see them playing all the matches, but they cannot when it comes to 50 over World Cups, and especially this being a serious tournament and an important tournament for Sri Lanka cricket. They certain players are not fit to play all 10 matches. So your thoughts towards that, especially on how the physios and messers, especially in Sri Lanka cricket, handling certain players who are injury prone and who are getting injured, because this is critical, because we're not having a proper 15-member squad. We see players getting injured after 1 or 2 matches. So thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think okay, this was something that I kind of like wanted to like specify very clearly. I think I might have mentioned this in Twitter a few weeks prior to the World Cup, but
Yeah,
also like somewhere in between the LPL and the World Cup. Like the thing is, like when you are looking at this World Cup, you are playing. Nine
nine
matches,
matches,
nine
9 matches.
matches
Yeah,
on the trot, and at the same time you want, and since you are sending 15 players,
mm,
not only do you want to send in your best players, but you it also need to be your fittest players too. Now what do I
yeah,
mean by fittest players? So like fittest players in the sense like these are players who not only perform on a very consistent basis, but also they can carry on playing for a number of matches, not getting cramps while they are batting long innings. Because for example, we did see Kusalmendis in the second match where he ended up in a hospital from cramps after his super knock, I think.
yeah,
uh, that was there. And see, thing is like uh, let's start with LPL, right? I
yeah,
think one of the biggest misses is obviously Vaidu Hasaranga. And I think, like personally for me, the Vanidu Hasaranga, the batsman, was mostly missed in this tournament because
mm,
like once he starts hitting the ball, he's it's very difficult to stop him.
agreed.
And like when I mean, he is really, he's one of the leading bowlers, but Vanil
Yeah,
Hasaranga, the batting, like let's the all rounder who
yeah,
has a very important role with his clean hitting with at the number 6 or 7, especially
yeah,
number 7, sometimes 8 also. Like he floats in between that batting order, but
yeah,
regardless of that, his strike has been there's been a clear cut difference in how he plays. So like
mm,
he also did mention that the very less time gap between these LPL matches was a very big
issue. Yeah,
um, you know issue when it comes to like managing players. And he being the captain, it was obviously expected of him to play all those matches.
mm,
And the thing is, like franchise teams are not going to rest players so that they can play for the national team. Their
yeah,
only goal is to make ensure that their team wins. So I
agreed.
feel like the having such an important like having the LPL just right before a very important uh,
Tournament.
a
Yeah,
very important tournament didn't quite help us as we thought it should.
mm,
Uh, yeah, and I think just to make sure that I'm not getting like I'm not getting okay. I think we did forget that we had the Asia Cup as well,
yeah,
but that's also a tournament. So
yeah,
like we we did somewhat okay in the Asia Cup, but it was very evident that at some point our batting was not really up to the mark, and it was our bowlers who were doing the job for us.
yeah,
And in the LPL, we didn't have five key bowlers, so we somehow managed to come to the final.
yeah,
But other teams also did have a fair share of their injury concerns. So at some points they didn't feel in their best combinations in terms of bowling. So
mm,
all teams had some concerns.
yeah,
Fast forward to the World Cup, some of those players actually did recover in time. For Sri Lanka, I think only Dilsha Madhushanka came back from from being injured,
Yeah.
and I think one
Even
of
Tikshana
the
did.
main
Even yeah, I think
yes,
even Tikshana
yes,
got
yes, and
yeah.
very important. Tikshana too. Thanks for reminding because Vanidu is still not recovered. Chamira is supposed to have recovered and return as a traveling reserve, and
Yeah.
yeah, so we did have a few returns, but
I think
I
even
think for
Kumar also
me,
was injured. I
yeah,
think part time. I think even in the Asia
Kumar,
Cup, and then he
yes,
recovered for
yes.
the World Cup. Yeah,
Yes, I mean, I do have different opinions on him, but for me to start with the biggest positive, it's Dilshan Madhushanka, who is having 7 wickets so far as the leading bowler for
yeah,
Sri Lanka. He
mm,
did get hit for a couple of runs in the first match, but he did come off pretty okay in the next two, picking up
agree.
early wickets.
Yeah,
But I feel uh, our bowling has not really helped our batting, and sometimes our batting hasn't really helped our bowlers
bowling.
as well. So
Agree. Yeah,
it's like a very deadlock situation where like either party, the batters and the bowlers, are guilty of not performing up to their best. Like,
mm,
um, if you did notice in the first two matches, Sri Lanka were the second highest in terms of run
runs.
scoring
Yeah,
as an aggregate from
yep.
teams. Obviously, we did play on batting friendly pitches, but that we can take it as a positive that when it is really needed, our batters are able to fire. But the
Mm,
problem is we are not able to recover from a disaster.
yeah,
So
mm,
it's like at one point one partnership was really well, and once you get once you lose a wicket, there is a massive tendency of losing the next. So if you look at the collapse that happened last match,
yeah,
10 wickets fell in a span of 79 runs. So that is like an
mm,
average 8 runs being played for every wicket that fell.
yep.
So um, 8 to 9 runs for every wicket that fell.
Yes.
So, and that too after playing really well in the first two matches.
Hmm.
So, there is very big concern in terms of experience also, and not really playing to the situation. And I think also the fact that we are not really playing to the weakness of our opponents. So,
Yeah.
uh, we
I think,
are
yeah,
easily,
because especially
yeah.
I think Zampa had a back spasm, I think, that day, and he said also that he wasn't fit, but he managed to pick up 4 wickets. So I don't know, like, is there some certain weakness of Sri Lankan batters when it comes to like leg spinners, especially Zampa on that pitch in Lucknow? Because especially we saw like it turned a bit, we saw on that day, but I don't know, for some reason, once Kusal Pereira, Pathumnissanka, they got that partnership, they could have, I mean, Nisanka, the way that he got dismissed, I don't know. When he gets a 50, when he gets that 50 afterwards, he just throws his wicket away. And I think Kusal Pereira, I think justice, that ball was good from Pat Cummins. You need to accept that. But the rest, after Kusal Mendis and Sadira, we haven't seen much from the middle order. Especially, I think Asalanka did play I mean, was not bad. I mean, especially, I don't know, against Australia. I mean, he did quite his best, but I felt like he gave too much for the bowlers also to bat. I don't understand that communications as well. And number 6 and number 7 has anyways been our weakness, I would feel, from the past 2 months. So thoughts on that, especially the middle order, because the number 6 and number 7 position, especially Dhananjay De Silva, I don't know, because his average is 18, 19. He hasn't, only 1 or 2 matches he performs out of 10 matches when it's given. He doesn't score runs. Now Shanaka is injured. We don't have a finisher who's actually playing. Charmika is actually not a batting all rounder, is rather than a bowling all rounder. So thoughts on that? Because when it comes to the squad, also when we are speaking about the squad, we only have Dimut Karuratne, who's a opener, and he cannot bat at number 6 or 7. So don't you feel like we could have actually had Angelo Matthews in that team, or some all rounder, like a batting all rounder who can play at that number 6 or number 7 role in that, especially in the domestic circuit, when when we talk, because it's a huge issue, I would feel, because even Dushan Hemanta, yes, he may be a bowling all rounder, but I think he can bat a bit. I've seen in domestic he can bat a bit. So thoughts on that number 6 and number 7 position, especially because it's a critical role, because all the other teams, they have a fixed middle order, they have fixed players who play that role properly, but we don't see that in when it comes to Sri Lanka.
Yeah, so I think for me, I feel like yeah, it's this is like combined opinions from whatever I read, and also a World Cup comes every 4 years. So if
Yeah.
we are, let's ignore T20 and the World Test Championship for now. The World Cup comes every 4 years, so that
Mm.
means that there should be a 4 year plan for the next World Cup. So I
Yeah.
think the biggest problem is we are trying to execute a 4 year plan in 2 years. I mean,
Mm.
personally, I think the talent we have is great. The ones
Yeah.
that emerged from 2021, right?
Mm.
So you can't really take 2020 also, because that was the pandemic here and there was
Pandemic.
barely any cricket. And
Agreed.
2019 was the year the World Cup was actually played. So we had
Yeah.
2020 one mid where most of those emerging players started to make the international debuts. We saw Pathumnissanka, Charita Salanka, Mahesh Teekshana.
Yeah.
Um,
Dilshan
Last
Madhushanka.
year, yes,
Yeah.
Dilshan Madhushanka, Dunit Vellalage after last year's World Cup, and
Yeah.
sorry if I missed out any names. I mean,
I think only Kusalmendis and Dasunshanaka were there post the past the 29. I mean, pre the 2019 World Cup. I mean, they were
yeah,
there for 3 years. I think only
yeah.
those two players. I think apart from that, I don't think there was any experience in this team when it comes to like World Cup. Like preparing for a World Cup. Plus, they only come like for 2 years.
Yeah, and just to also mention, I feel like we did play too many home games, because
Mm.
when we did start a tour,
Yeah.
we haven't really won matches outside of Sri Lanka, other
Yeah.
than if it was again in the Asia Cup. If you look at the beginning of the year, 3-0 loss against India. Then you have a 2-0 loss against New Zealand, and the one match being abandoned. So that was
Yeah.
there. Like we need to like also consider like where the players were playing, because you can play enough of home matches and be really on top of your game, but when you're playing things like World Cup, you need to have international experience where you're playing on non-Sri Lankan pitches. So it can be
Yeah.
flat pitches like in India where you can score a lot of runs, or it can be
Mm.
like the green pitches where you find in the Sena countries that where the ball like really swings well, and it gets especially when it I think uh, like at some point the ball starts to reverse swing, like different conditions, it's like playing in the cold, playing in extreme
Yeah.
heat. So
Yeah.
um, I feel like our players don't have the necessary international exposure when it comes to playing such an important thing like a World Cup, because at
Mm.
home I think our players play pretty well. But we saw that
Yeah.
in the Asia Cup as well. I feel like the only reason we would have actually made it to the Asia Cup finals because most of the latter part of the matches were actually held in Sri Lanka with only
Sri
four in
Lanka. Yeah.
24 in Pakistan.
Yeah.
So, yes, I feel like one of the key things before the World Cup is not having enough experience on in matches outside of Sri Lanka. If we
Mm.
did, we play mostly T20 matches. So I feel like uh, we were very focused on the T20 World Cup last year and the year before, 2021 and 2022, that I
Yeah.
think we forgot that there is the 50 over World Cup in
ODI.
2023. So, actually, that's a thought. Like, what if Sri Lanka cricket was so focused on the shorter version that we lost
Yeah.
focus on the main World Cup, the 50 over World
Mm.
Cup, that
Mm.
like that's when we come we end up with having a problem with the middle order, because the middle order is more suited to playing quick innings in the T20s. But
Yeah.
the middle order 6 to 7 is like very important, because most of the time when they come to bat,
Yeah.
two times, especially like if there's a batting collapse and they need to recover, or when they have been
Mm.
playing really well and it's the death overs. So if you come early, you need to be able to settle yourself first. Like, you don't see David Miller going at it from ball one. Um,
Yeah.
uh, I'm just taking him as an example of you know what it's like to be a really good number six batter. Just
Yes.
one example. So, like, yes, so I feel like we have given too much focus on T20 cricket that we forgot how to how to
Playing ODI.
how to like get proper experience and exposure for the team for the 50 overs. I think we can
Mm.
get more into details based on the next question. So I'll hear it from Pawan.
Yeah. So I think, yeah, that was a good point raised out by you. Yeah, that Sri Lanka actually focusing too much on 2020 cricket. But don't you think like the January, the 3-0 loss against India? Obviously, we are playing in subcontinental conditions, and seeing how we are performing. I mean, yes, Shanaka scored 100 in that ODI series. Yes, we got all out for 73, but don't you think, because seen teams like Netherlands going before the World Cup, they're actually going 2 to 3 weeks before, and they're preparing for the World Cup, going in Bangalore, getting used to those pitches in India. Don't you think like Sri Lanka also could have done a similar plan? Because when it comes to Sri Lanka cricket, we are announcing squads in the last minute, just before the World Cup. We don't even know who's the final 15 they're selecting. Always we are, I mean, people in Sri Lanka cricket fans are always arguing this player, that player in Twitter, when the Sri Lankan cricket board, they don't announce the squad until like the 29th, 30th. Whereas teams like Netherlands and even top four teams, they're England, Australia, New Zealand, we see them announcing squads 1 month prior. So thoughts on this, like we are mainly focusing on players like Hasaranga and all to come fit before the World Cup, but shouldn't we have like a backup plan? That's the thing. Like, shouldn't we have backup players in case Wahanidu gets injured? Next player should come in. So we haven't seen that much with Sri Lanka cricket in the past 2 years. I feel like not trying out certain players, like we saw back in 2017, the way how much players came into the Sri Lankan cricket team, and then we saw in 2019 the way that we perform. Especially, I think the 2019 squad did well. I mean, especially considering the fact that we beat England and also Afghanistan and I think one other team back then as well. So your thoughts towards that as well? Like, we see teams going prior to the World Cup, they're announcing the squad, they go to India and assess the conditions. Whereas in Sri Lanka cricket, there is no plan. They announce the squad in the last minute, and this is why we aren't able to win a match yet.
Yeah, I think to start, I just want to say that I think the day you can say that I think Sri Lanka cricket as a whole is very serious in winning a World Cup is the day when number one,
Yeah. Mm.
they don't announce the team before the flight, and number two, um, once they don't have to come to a place where they play qualifiers. So once they don't
Yeah.
play qualifiers, meaning that they are
Mm.
playing consistent cricket, whether it's Sri Lanka or outside Sri Lanka, maintaining a good
Yeah.
rank against quality opposition, and
Yeah.
also having stable players who don't have to be
Mm.
switched out, switched in the last moment because of injury concerns.
Yeah.
I think social media also kind of plays a role here. I mean, we have
Yeah.
seen how outraged a lot of fans got the moment they got to know that there were talks of the captain Dasunshanaka be uh, to be to be
Being, yeah.
like um, replaced in terms of captaincy, but
Yeah.
now we have inevitably come to that point. Okay, so I
Hmm.
mean, not to say that uh, like just to like come with that, like
Yeah.
again it's about having a plan. If there
Yeah.
was a need to change captaincy, you do that before the World Cup.
Before the World Cup.
Give the
Yeah.
new captain a couple of series, not just at home but outside, to get used to pressure situations, working with the team and all of them. The moment you change importance and leadership,
Yeah.
there are a lot of things that happen, like the trust players have with each other, the kind of
Hmm.
plans they have to execute in the middle of the field, the kinds of body
Yeah.
combinations that like it's all about, if someone gets badly hit for runs, who's going to raise their hand and you know cover up for them.
Yeah.
So I feel like um, again that we have been too much focused on T20 cricket, that we got too comfortable when we started winning in home conditions and thought, okay, everything is great. But you know, and coming to the most important point of not having enough experience in the um, Indian pitchers. I mean, we did see things went quite horribly wrong, I would say, at the beginning of the year when we played against India. Personally,
Yeah.
for me, more than the New Zealand game, that should have been the
Yeah.
wake up call to say we are not doing something right.
Yeah.
And at that time, Dasunshanaka was the talk of the town, where even Indians were wanting him to be drafted to IPL. So
Hmm.
I feel that's the thing. Like, and then fast forward to today, Dasunshanaka, except for the first match, has did not, really
Performed.
deliver what was expected from him.
Hmm.
But at the same time, compared to how some players played back then, there are few improvements. But at the end of the day, cricket is a team sport of 11 players. So
Yeah.
you can't just depend on the success of one or two when you're playing a
Hmm.
series of games. To build a champion team, you need to make a collective unit of people who can step up when others fail.
Yeah.
Confidence is not really that great in the team, I feel um, like as long as the openers like play well, I feel like okay, the others tend to like kind of sit
Hold back.
a bit
Yeah.
too relaxed.
Hmm.
Then when the
Hmm.
openers fail, maybe the top order, like top and middle order, might you know
Score
some
runs.
of them
Yeah.
we might score runs, but that's also limited to just like one or two partnerships at best, because the
Hmm.
rest ends
Yeah.
up in collapses. So
Yeah.
yes, so there's a lot of concerns. Like it's very difficult to to like focus on just one. Like like this
Yeah.
whole thing. It's a process that has not been tested and evaluated properly, because like if we didn't do a I feel like we didn't do our homework after the India tour. It's I'm not saying that we should change players, but
Yeah.
that we need to like uh, you know get them suited for those conditions. And
Conditions. Yeah.
we still see the issue of some of the players being
Hmm.
unable to counter the proper swing bowling, because you don't get that much of a swing in Sri Lankan conditions, and then because we tend to play the spin better. And
Yeah.
I mean,
But then we still see Sri Lankan batters
it's
struggling against spin as
like
well at the same time.
yes,
So
so
that's
like
the
I
biggest
feel like
issue.
it's pretty embarrassing, like when you are getting out for like very straight deliveries. It kind of
Yeah.
solve the problems of the field when field performance will be sorted. Okay, so I think I'd like to make a comment on that.
Yeah.
Yes, actually, like cricket is not just only what you play on the ground, right? You need to like do your homework properly. I think very recently we have a very big concern of players not analyzing how their opponents play, because it's almost like every team that comes for us has a plan for like specific players. We saw how
Yeah.
Netherlands were following a paper kind of thing.
Hmm.
So like, I mean, those
Yeah.
kind of things are like what keeps the team focused.
Yeah.
Just some general comments. I would say like batsmen first need to be like comfortable. Like I don't think they need to like think of scoring fast from ball one. They need
Ball
to
one.
like first get
Yeah.
comfortable with the conditions, and I mean we did see that you can play even against a team like Australia on these conditions. It was like going so well
Yeah.
that it was really sad that like how we played the opening partnership so well and just
Yeah.
collapsed for no
Because
reason.
but
Like
we saw Kusalmendis, Sadira being that good in the last two matches, and the way that they got out against Australia. I mean,
yeah,
fantastic catch by Vaughan. I know that of Kusalmendis's delivery. But what was the point of that? Going attacking against Australian bowlers when we had a solid partnership. We had a good opening partnership of 125, and then we just had to settle in, and at least one batter had to just go and get 50. We just needed like 250 plus partnerships to get to a respectable score. Maybe 270, 280 might have been enough against Australia. The way that we bowled that day against Australia, I felt 280, 290 would have been enough on that pitch. So, especially your thoughts, especially because I mean, yes, Kusal Mendis has had a good tournament so far, but I mean, that one match, especially when the openers did well, because the openers usually don't do well, and that was the one instance that we saw the openers getting a century partnership and doing well. But the I don't know what to say, like to like Kusal Mendis, Sadira, they were in good form, especially in that Pakistan match. But the way that they played against in Lucknow, especially, and then Asalanka as well, not trying to rotate strike, giving strike to Kumar, even I mean exposing the bowlers as well in that match. So, any thoughts as to where that switch? I mean, the mind switched off, especially of Sri Lankan batters. That's a huge disappointment, I would say.
yeah, I mean, if you I'll just take some like the very recent example. Like in the Pakistan match, we lost 9 wickets. 8 of them were catches. Only Matheeshapathirana was
Yeah,
bowled
yeah,
for a Yorker.
mm,
In the last match also, Kusal Pereira rather
yeah,
was bowled on a ball that kept low. Really good ball.
mm,
Have to
yeah,
give credit to that. But
yeah,
if you notice, like most of our players are getting out for catches. So
yeah,
I feel like the intention was there, but
mm,
was it really necessary? Like
yeah,
I mean I just think that uh, we are not rotating the strike
strike, yeah,
uh, to as much as we think we should be. I mean,
agree.
most of our players are like really good at that. Like especially more than the opener is actually yeah, uh,
Middle order,
from number 3 to 6 like normally good in rotating a strike. Like, I mean, even I think Dhananjay is also when he scores well, he's a really good striker of he's a very good rotator of the strike. If you look
Yeah.
at his
Agree.
if you look at his dot ball percentage, it's especially in the toes
Middle
is like
overs.
pretty good. Same with Darshan
Yeah.
also. He has a their
Yeah.
dot ball percentages are like somewhere between 30 to 40. Especially like
Agree.
the Australia match. Like that's the thing,
Yeah.
we are like we need to not play ODIs the same we play T20s, right? I
Yeah.
feel like I feel like our batters are too focused on putting pressure back onto the bowler by trying to score quick boundaries, because like
Mm.
if I mean, if we are getting out for very good balls like the ones that keep low, they get completely deceived.
Yeah.
That's different. But to be caught
Agree.
in small boundaries is also a small concern. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, I understand the intention, but
Yeah.
when you're playing in ODS, you need to have at least 20 to 30 runs partnership between wickets, not anything less than 10. So you need
Yeah.
to rotate the strike for the first 10 runs, the next 20. Maybe there are times where if you feel comfortable, you can go for grounded stroke play.
Yeah.
But
Agree.
I think going for like unnecessarily aerial shots in places where, I mean, if you do look the way how some of the bowlers do bowl, like they know that the chance is there to get a catch, so they have
Yeah.
the filters placed there. And
Agree.
I think that they are making us play at it. So when the
Yeah.
opposition knows that we have a certain weakness in maybe mistiming the ball because we're trying to be go on full attack mode. Maybe
Mm.
that has been analyzed well. You can never say that.
Yeah.
Rather than like pitching it in a way where the batters we get bowler ABW, they are bowling in a way where they think, okay, I'm going to loft this one, and it
Yeah.
results in catches. And I think the batters are also to blame for like giving away like really good starts. I think one of the biggest culprit would I would say Pathumnissanka, because like except for the first match where he got bowled for a really
Yeah.
good swinging ball, the other two were like completely gifted. I mean, I'm not blaming him for playing badly. I just feel like when
Yeah.
you are I feel like sometimes on like he gets a bit too comfortable in trying to like go full attack, where it's the
Yes.
normal
Agree.
procedures. You go for a boundary and single, where in case you notice, I think in both instances where he got out, he hit a four in the previous ball.
Ball.
So
Mm.
I feel like
Yeah.
that when you ease that pressure, it kind of like makes you lose focus and you don't rotate the strike. So I feel
Yeah.
like right now our batters need to first go for the ones and twos before like trying to hit a four in every boundary.
Agree.
Shall we
Definitely.
go to the bowling?
Yeah, yeah. Let's go to the bowling. Yeah, I think we spoke too much on the batting, so let's talk about the bowling, and especially let's talk about the spinners, especially because we have Mahesh Tikshana, we have Velalage. We are seeing them actually. I mean, the economy, the runs that they concede are less, but they're not picking up many wickets. I mean, even Tikshana we saw in the South after the South Africa match or whatever, he was saying that pitchers we don't have pitchers in Sri Lanka this been prepared, unlike in India. We are not tested to those conditions in India, but we are seeing because Tikshana he's playing IPL right now. We've seen, I mean, Velalage, he hasn't been exposed too much in 2020 cricket. We've seen him playing regular ODI cricket, but we're not seeing them picking up much wickets. We're not seeing them being much being of a threat. The only thing, especially when you talk about Teakshan, I don't know, he speeds like at times he goes 100, he gives up at times. When there is some turn on the pitch, he doesn't assess whether there is some turn. So is that inexperience? So is that just like they're not used to the conditions? So your thoughts, because because Hasaranga, we know whether it's 20, 50 over, we see him getting wickets on regular occasions. But Teakshan, I don't know for some fact, like when it comes to away from home, he doesn't pick up much wickets. We don't see him being much of a threat. He has certain variations. We know he has the carom delivery, he has the off spin delivery as well. But for some reason, he's unable to pick up wickets, especially bowled. He's depending on much catched wickets. And also, your thoughts towards both these spinners, especially so far?
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like even in T20s, like Mahesh Tikshana is not really the type of bowler who you would expect to pick three first, four first, five first. Like you would expect him to like take one or two and keep
Yeah,
the score tight because he tends to bowl on the quickish like upper 90s clock sometimes hundreds. So the
yeah,
way he bowls is a little different than other spinners who actually depend on turn. So
yeah,
like but for me I feel like if the pitch is going fast, given that he's on the upper range of the spinners, I think there should be some sort of an advantage to him because a lot of batters are
yeah,
not necessarily used to playing spin at that speed. Like
mm,
easily he's about 10 to 20 clicks faster than most spinners. So
yeah,
uh, I mean, I'm not asking him to bowl faster, but I feel like
yeah,
he could be, missing the trick on varying his speed rather than mixing his types of spin.
yeah,
Because yes, it's true, he does have to depend on a lot of catching wickets. But again, I feel like he's not utilizing the speed as much
properly.
like
Yeah,
varying his speed.
mm,
Normally, you tend to like vary the speed as a fast bowler, but
yeah,
uh, I think that's probably one of the reasons why, because you can't always bowl your same way everywhere, right? So
yeah,
I think if Mahesh Tikshana tries to vary his speed more than the type of delivery he is trying to bowl, I feel like that can actually help him.
mm,
And I think yes, and when it comes to like the I saw it was displayed about bowlers being hit for runs. Again,
yeah,
again, I feel like yeah, not only inexperience, but you can't bowl the same way you're bowling like in Sri Lanka. Like if a wicket is expected mostly from catchers, you can't
mm,
really try to like bowl out your uh, opponent. Like you need to kind of bowling away to like go fetch. What I mean
yeah.
is like try to be considered on the wide yorkers, trying to
Because if I'm not
give some
mistaken,
dot
like
ball.
Velalage played like in the January series. I mean, against India in January, and this is his second series. So I think by now at least he should have some sort of experience as to how to play on these pitches and how to especially bowl, which lengths to bowl. So I don't know if like for some fact like why he's still conceding runs, like why he's not picking up wickets, especially when it comes to like defending a total. So thoughts on that, especially Velalage. I mean, he is a future prospect. I know he's played many ODI matches. I don't know, but for a fact, when it comes to Indian pitchers, still struggles to get wickets in. He can control the runs going. I mean, he at times, but I just don't know why he's not able to get wickets, especially on spinning tracks. Still,
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I mean, he's not the biggest turner of the ball, so for
yeah.
that reason, he has to, I think, depend on the batsman mistiming. There are times he tends to like um, use a bit of the round arm a little bit,
Mm,
like he changes the
yeah.
trajectory. Maybe he might vary uh, his speed a little bit, but once
Yeah.
again, like you don't really see him bowl a lot of arm balls or dusras. So I
Yep.
feel like it could be like, I feel like if the if the track is not giving a lot of spin assistance,
Mm.
uh, it gets it's a bit easier to read the ball regardless of where it's being pitched. So I think once again we are coming to, if you can't vary your spin, then at least you can vary your speed. Maybe
Yes.
flight the ball a little more, because it
More.
I feel
Mm.
like it's I
Because
feel
we
like,
saw that day also, I think Kusalmendis was shouting at Peralage like to try to flight it a bit more, because at times he
yes,
bowls
yes,
one
yes.
length, full length delivery, the next length he bowls a short delivery. He's not bowling at the same places and trying to trouble the batters. So yeah.
Yeah, that's the thing. Wanted to say flight the ball a little bit more, because I feel like that's the thing. Like, um you can't always bowl the same way you're being used to. Like, um,
Yeah.
you need, if you can't get a lot of spin, then you need to flight the ball, make it a little harder for the batsman to read, because when you flight the ball, you have to like make the batsman wait. If and
Mm.
sometimes they will come at you,
Yeah.
maybe someday you can get hit for runs, but
Agree.
these are good opportunities for you to invite the batsman to uh, you know uh, play at you. Take a classic
Yeah.
example, Rangana Hera, not the biggest spinner, not the biggest turn of the ball, but he
Mm.
used his flight really well to make the batters miss time. So I feel
Mm.
like he has
Agree.
Vella again needs to flight the ball a little more. Tishana needs to vary his pace a little more. As for the
Yeah.
fast bowlers, they need to not always go for the wicket taking balls, but try to make the batsman play at the ball to offer a
Mm.
catch. And if
Yep.
the ball is swinging, they also need to be consistent with their line, because one of the
Mm.
things is like, uh, it's like six. Uh, you can have six different balls in T20s, but when you ODIs, you since the batters tend to last a little longer, like you can make the batsman get comfortable at one particular lane and then bowl a surprise delivery in the fourth or fifth. That
Yep.
is kind of like how it normally is. So I feel like again you can't use the T20 approach in bowling. You need to have specialist ODI bowlers. Matheesha, in
Agree.
my
Agree.
opinion, he did have a fairly successful run at the Asia Cup, but you know I don't really see him as a long-term ODI prospect, because he is
Yep.
prone to injuries. He tends to miscue his line a lot.
Mm.
Like, it's
And that's why
either,
he concedes a lot of extras, especially I think those 25
yes,
extras against Pakistan. If we didn't concede those, probably we would have won that match against Pakistan. But I
yes,
think that's also probably inexperience from Pathirana. Plus, I think he needs time, I think, especially with his action. And at once coming onto the international stage, and especially in a World Cup, you cannot expect Pathirana to straight away perform like I mean the IPL where you have to bowl 4 overs, so 20, 20, 50 overs difference. I think it takes time, I feel, but still coming to the fast bowlers, I mean Kumara and Rajitha, I know they've played quite a lot now. I don't know still though Kumar, when it comes to power play, I don't know. Rajitha, yes, he seems to make an impact in the power play. His weakness is in the death, where he bowls the full length delivery and goes for runs. But Kumar, I don't know, even the power play itself, we saw in the Australia match, first over itself, he gives 15 runs, bowling short lane deliveries to Mittelmarsh. His strength is to play that pull shot, and when you know that he's bowling the short lane delivery and trying to expect a catch wicket, but it goes for a six. So your thoughts on Kumar, especially he's trying to bowl at speed, but he doesn't have like a consistent length, line and length, and trying to be a bit more aggressive to get a wicket. So your thoughts towards Kumara, because it's a big concern. I mean, it's going for years now of Kumara, the way that he concedes runs and not bowling at a right length, line and length to get wickets, and just bowls all over the length. So I don't know what to say about Kumara.
Yeah, I think I was very critical after the loss against Australia because, like, for me personally, like, it's, I mean, it's okay to like get hit for runs, but
Yeah,
it's about what the kind of balls you bowl. Like sometimes it's okay to get even it's like sometimes like your wicket taking ball can be, you know, hit for runs, but
yeah,
if you are consistently bowling bad balls, like it's too short, and it's kind of like in a time when the bowlers can batters can see the ball well, you know, these are and I mean I can't really remember what speed is bowling, but you see that this is the thing
yeah,
that Kumara is a bowler who lacks variation, like variation in the sense like you don't really see him, you know, being very you know, very frequent with slower balls or off
mm,
cutters,
yeah.
uh, you know, the wobble
Very true.
seams, knuckle balls,
Mm,
like
mm,
when you
agreed.
this is a time when, you know, bats batters, you know, can really predetermine what is coming at you. So if you're like, you know, trying to, you know, bowl the next ball faster, you know,
Yeah,
batters can, you know, have a, you know, good reading of what's coming.
agreed.
uh, Inconsistency
Yeah,
of lines can be advantages for you in, you know, always surprising, keeping the batters on their toes,
yeah,
or it can work on you terribly, especially if you are bowling at the same speed,
yeah.
because where is your surprise delivery? Like, you know,
Mm,
you tend to, I think in ODI cricket, you tend to bowl your surprise in your fourth and fifth. But
fifth overs. Yeah,
I mean, if I feel like if you're trying to do the same thing over and over again and being predictable, I mean, it's you know, you kind of like need to match experience also does matter. I mean, we gotta
mm,
give it, you know, understand the fact that it's been a while since Kumar played international cricket.
mm.
But at the same time, I don't really think Raja did anything wrong to keep
Be
to
dropped. Yeah,
be
after the match,
outside the
first
team.
match.
So personally, I feel like even against Netherlands, it would be better if Rajitha comes in place of Kumara, because
Kumar.
Rajitha has been playing um, a
For a while.
little
I think
more.
even the Asia Cup also, I think he was playing all the matches. Kumar all of a
Yes,
sudden came
yes.
after the Asia Cup after injury to the team. So you cannot expect at once for Kumar to play. So yeah, that's what I don't understand at once. Just one match. I mean, Rajitha, yes, he might have considered 90 runs, but he still picked up two because it's very crucial wickets also that Radhita took against South Africa. I don't understand why judging on one match they are trying to drop players, especially. And Radhika did give some role with the bat as well, scoring 30 runs. Those were also useful when it comes to the when they were chasing 429. So still, even if Radhika doesn't contribute with the ball, he can contribute a bit at least with the bat as well. So I don't know, especially I mean just for one match, just because of the way that he was bowling, he still picked up because he was very good in the power play. I felt in that match against South Africa. So yes, his weakness is in the depth, but I think you can work that over time. So I don't know, just judging on one or two matches why they're dropping players right Rajita. I completely don't know when he's coming into a phase like he was playing consistent in the Asia Cup. And just I don't understand why they just drop based on just one or two matches.
Yeah, that's how I feel like Sri Lanka did, you know, lose the missed the trick in not including Rajitha in the next matches. I
Yeah,
mean, like not only as a bowler, but you know, as a batter who can score a few
runs at
important
least. Yeah.
runs, and
Hmm.
he's like I feel like, you know, like he when he comes, he's like pretty determined that, you know, he's going to stand staying the wicket. I mean, he does the night watchman duty in Test cricket, so I feel like,
Yeah.
I mean, if Sri Lanka wants to make a good impression, they should stick to Rajitha, uh,
Rather than Kumara, yes.
because
Mm.
yeah, like Rajitha probably at the number 9 position, because personally, for me, I have better faith in him than some of other batters, because he I mean, he's not going to score a lot of runs at the beginning, but once he gets comfortable, like, he can play some really nice shots. It's um, like,
Yeah.
he
Agreed.
can he can play, and that's the kind of thing you want from your tail to be. Like, I feel like as a tail end batsman and a fast bowler, Rajitha is a bit of the standout there, but not
Yeah.
forgetting Dilshan Madhushanka, who's very good in getting the breakthroughs, even though
Yes.
he may
Agreed.
not. Unlike Rajitha, would be considered as a decent partnership breaker, and kind of like, keeps the runs reasonably low, maybe a bit low
I
at
think
the.
definitely. I think Dilshan Madhushanka has been the standout in this World Cup,
Yes,
especially
yes,
coming after injury. The way that he's dismissed Baba Azam, Steve Smith. I think those kind of deliveries being really threatful in the play, especially swinging the ball and making a huge impact for Sri Lanka, especially when the other bowler is conceding so many runs. Still, Madhushanka is in a rhythm and still picks up wickets and still is a threat. I think that match against Australia, double made, and also he picked up both Steve Smith and David Warner as well. So it's very crucial. I mean, especially him being 21, I think he definitely has a huge potential, huge future ahead of him. The way, because he had lack of match practice as well before coming the World Cup, and the way that he's immediately making an impact like this, it's good signs, I would feel, for Dilshan Madhushanka.
most definitely. Yes, I really hope that he can. That, and another thing, like, when it comes to fast bowlers, like, I feel like, yes, they do have a reasonable break, but I feel like, fast bowlers need to be rotated every 2 matches, I think,
Mm.
so that we don't have to like
Yeah.
overwork them. Like, you play until they get injured. So I think that
Yeah.
approach is wrong. Like, you play 2 matches, depending on when the next match is, you can play the third one. But I feel
Yeah.
like it should go as every 2 matches. You rotate the fast bowlers. Maybe when
Mm.
you come to like the crucial matches, you can play 3, 4 at a stretch. But I
Yeah.
think player rotation
Agree.
is very important, especially like you have to analyze, like, okay, is this ground small, whether it's big, whether it's a turning pitch. Because if it's a
Mm.
turning pitch, I think it's still okay to go with one key fast bowler and a fast bowling all rounder,
Yeah.
kind of approach. So like, uh,
Yeah.
then if it's a fast pitch, like, we kind of have to expect runs to be hit, so we need to include players who don't bowl too fast, because you tend to give runs even by nicks,
Mm.
like the
Yes.
kind of ground that is being played. You need to be smart, so in who is playing, because you can't you
Yeah.
know there is a very famous, I think, quote you would say, like, හැම අමාරුකරම සිද්ධාලේප දානා වගේ, you can't use the same remedy for every problem you have, right?
Yes.
There
Yeah.
you have to come up with something different when you have a
Mm.
different challenge. So
Yeah.
I think that's what really sets quality teams from the average teams, because average teams will try to put the same 11 for every occasion, but quality
Yeah.
teams will understand who is better at playing on what, and make
Hmm.
those necessary rotation, one or two changes when it's really needed.
Yeah.
So moving
Agreed.
forward, I like, given that we are not really in a position to make it to the semifinals, I feel like
Yeah,
we should pay for pride and rotate our players so that at least
agree.
give some
Yeah,
match experience. So I feel that that's the approach we have to use given the
yeah.
present conditions.
Agree. Also, before ending, also I just want to talk about the squad as well a bit also, because we have players like Dushan Hemant actually, who's the third spinner right now for Sri Lanka, but he hasn't played much matches prior to the World Cup, and I don't know when we saw in the warm up matches also he considered a lot of runs, plenty of runs, which is why he's not playing right now in the playing 11. Didn't pick up much wickets as well. I'm not seeing him also doing that much of a huge impact in the domestic. I'm not sure your thoughts on Dushan Hemanta, but for me, I feel like we could have had a player like Van der Sar. I know Van der Sar didn't do well in the 2019 World Cup, but we cannot forget that it was back in England where it seemed pitches. I mean, mostly it was suited for fast bowling pitches, and yes, he may have considered runs, but I think with his experience, the way that he was performing in Sri Lanka, I feel like Mendese or I think could have been included ahead of Dushan Hemanta. But your thoughts, especially did Sri Lanka pick Dushan Hemanta based on his
I
batting
mean,
stats as well, the way that he was playing, or on what basis?
yeah. So like once again, I feel like, yeah, I think if you look at most of the matches where Dushan Hemant is playing, he has played more matches as the 12th man rather than
Yeah,
actually playing in the 11th. So I feel like Dushan Hemanta is an exceptional fielder.
yeah,
His game awareness, his running, his throwing skills, his catching.
agree.
Like I
Yeah,
feel like he's. We saw the same with Ashim Bandar. Like
Bandara.
his
Yeah,
one word electric. So he's like the perfect substitute fielder in the team. But
mm,
if you really need to be in the team, you need to you know have something of your two main skills, that is the batting and or the bowling. So I
bowling.
feel
Yeah,
like the thing with Dushan Hemanta, he's not too much into variations,
mm,
and I think he's not a very big spinner of the ball.
yeah,
But even so, like if he, I mean, I don't want to like criticize players as such, but I feel like
yeah,
he's good enough to be in the team as a substitute fielder. But
yeah, definitely.
to
Yeah,
but maybe we can give him a chance, like if rather than always using Vella like, maybe we can if the need arises to rest him and put
yeah,
Ushan Hemant instead and see, because they play in very similar batting positions, like as number 8, and also they are like away spinners. Like if you look at the
mm.
left arm orthodox spin and leg spin, they
But
are
I
away
more
spinners.
control
So
when it comes to Velalage. I mean, especially his control of like compared to Hemant. I
yes,
think Hemant, he's a leg spinner. Is still not into like the art of like being that accurate. I think when it comes, I think he needs more matches, obviously, to obviously perfect that. But that's why I feel like we should have had a backup spinner like to Hasaranga. I feel that's where I think Sri Lanka have lost a bit of track. I mean, not having like backup spinners, because in the past when we saw when like Murali got injured, we had backup spinners like Herato, we had other options as well in that domestic circuit. But now when it comes to 2023, we don't have options like backing up when Hasranga is injured. We don't see a likable replacement or a bowler who can pick up wickets all of a sudden. We don't see that nowadays compared to like 10 or 20 years ago. So I don't know what's really happened to the domestic circuit, why we don't have much spinner options there in the domestic circuit where we can include them straight away in the playing 15.
yeah, I think that's the thing. Like we come to the main point of on what basis do we select players into something like a limited overs team. So I think coming post World Cup, I think focusing on 2027,
Seven.
we really
Yeah.
need to like reevaluate on who we are going to go forward with, because sometimes I feel like maybe one or two players will be permanently out of ODI cricket and to focus
Hmm.
maybe only on Test cricket or only on T20. So I feel like that will definitely happen, which
Yeah.
might leave the chance for like about two players to come into the team as specialist ODI cricketers. So I think yes, again we need to like restructure how we are being, how we are evaluating who is good for the 50-over format,
Hmm.
based on uh, the current talent we have, like
Yeah.
yeah, I think that is the main thing we have to focus on. But I don't
Yeah.
really see that happening anytime sooner, because we have the another T20 World Cup
T20
coming
World Cup
next
coming
year,
in 20,
and the
2024
focus
and then the
again. I'm
2026.
coming to the same point. Yeah,
Yeah.
yes.
That's the
So
issue. That's the biggest
that's, I
issue over
feel
there.
like
Yeah.
I,
Hmm.
yeah.
Agree.
And then we come
Yeah,
back to the
but
same problem where we have not really picked the talent for the 50-over World Cup, and the same cycle repeats. So I feel
the good news is
that's
that
we
I
have the
think we're
long term
playing
plan of,
more.
yeah.
But we are playing more EDI matches, I think, coming up in the next 4 years. I think Sri Lanka is playing probably like 59 or 60 EDI matches. I think the next cycle, I think ICC cycles, like I mean, we have more EDI matches
Yes.
compared to
Yeah,
many teams, and we have less 2020 and Test matches. So I think that could be a bonus for Sri Lanka when it comes, because I think we'll have more away matches. I think, and perhaps I think post 2023 World Cup we can plan ahead. I think. Especially with the players that we have. I mean, yes, one or two players may be dropped, but I think the group that we had, I think we can do decently well. I think 4 years coming up, especially 2027, if we stick to the same players without dropping them consistently.
yeah, definitely. I mean, most of these players are pretty young, and they are. I think except for like um, maybe three players from the present 15. I think three or four. I think everyone else should be able to play for the next World Cup. So I think we need to kind of keep that in mind, because we can't have an entirely new set of players playing the
Yes.
2027 World Cup. That would be a
Because we had the same issue in the 2019 World Cup also. We had
yes,
so many experienced players, but when we seen that between the 2019 and 2023 World Cup, it's a completely new set of players apart from Dimut Karuratne and Kusal Pereira. So that's the issue. And when it comes like now, we have those kind of players like who are 21, 22 years old right now. So we need to keep that in the future rather than changing, because the whole issue in the past since 2015 has been changing players after like one or two series based on, and we have not seen the Sri Lankan cricket board or the coaching staff sticking to the same lot of players for years. So that we haven't seen with Sri Lanka compared to other countries, and that's why Sri Lanka in this kind of a situation right now where we are losing matches, because we haven't stick to the players that we needed, and that's why we are taking now players from the under 19 World Cup. I think that's the right direction that we are going with right now. So we have to just stick with them, especially with Pathirana and Velalage. Yes, Pathirana may not be a ODI player right now, but 4 years later we never know how he will perform. So that should be the idea that Sri Lanka cricket should go in. But coming back before like trying to end this show, like talking about Dimut's position in the squad, because we know he's been brought as a backup opener, but I don't know when he's gonna get a chance. So do you think like talking, yes, Pathumnissanka Kusal Pereira did well in the last match, but don't you think like we could have had a player like Avishka Fernando or Nuaindo Fernando who can bat in different situations as well? I mean, we've seen Avishka batting at number three, number four in certain ODI matches if he's not given a chance to open. Don't you think like we could have had a player who can bat in many positions rather than having a player just having who's having a fixed position like Dimut? I feel like we could have had Avish, or maybe there were thoughts of Matthews coming back, but I don't know the form of Matthews right now, so I cannot judge much whether Matthews could have been useful in this World Cup, especially with his experience. Definitely with his experience, he could have definitely being very useful, but I don't know of his batting form or his bowling form. Can't judge because he didn't have quite a good impact, especially in the New Zealand series, and then Afghanistan also he was not performing, which is why he was dropped. So, and there are many things, thoughts going on in social media that Matthews could have been included back, and he's been included as a traveling reserve. But any thoughts on Dimuth's inclusion in the squad? Because he is playing as a backup opener, but don't you think we could have had a batter who can bat maybe in the middle order or even opening, like maybe that adaptability I would feel.
Yeah, I think coming back to about Avisha Fernando, I think he has World Cup experience. I think people would have liked to see him have a go at it, but I feel like he probably wasn't in the optimal fitness. And when he did return to international cricket, he wasn't, really that impressive at the start. So I feel like he didn't, quite deliver at the time when he was needed. Otherwise, he would have had a very high asking value. Like he would have proven a case that that like once the team has come to this point where like it doesn't really matter whether that particular player plays or not because there's someone better playing instead. I think we
Yeah,
kind of can forget about backups and also like uh, consistency matters because he wasn't when he made his return.
yeah,
So and also there were certain injury concerns as well, like in terms of fitness. I think Nonito
yeah. I think
Fernando
there's news like
played.
I think there was news like Avishka Fernando failed the skin fold test, and then he was not in optimal fitness, which was why he wasn't included. If he didn't fail the skin fold test and he was 100% fit, he would have been selected in that playing 15 apart. I'm not judging on Dimuth. I know Dimuth had a good run in the qualifiers, but I don't know, like, you can judge based on qualifiers, pitches in Zimbabwe compared to like experience in India, because Dimuth is anyways been dropped after how he was performed in Asia Cups. I don't know why they stick with Dimuth. They could have gone with a batter who can perhaps bat in the middle order and the opening, I would feel, rather than a player who's playing at a fixed position, because I don't see Dimuth definitely batting at number 6 or 7 in any situation when any player
Yeah,
gets injured. So that's my point that I'm trying to bring. Yeah,
yeah. It like again once I mean when you talk, I mean for me, I feel like every time I squad his name, you very rarely find specialist batters as replacements or reserves,
yeah,
right? It's
yeah,
always like Sri Lanka, fix putting as many batsmen in the team and having all
mm,
rounders and bowlers and in the replacements. So like
yeah,
specialist batsmen almost never quite make it to the bench as such. But if
yeah,
you see other countries, there's always somebody to take up that spot and deliver at the same, I won't say same, but like deliver with responsibility
yeah,
compared to how it is here with our team. So I think we are not having enough emphasis on replacement batters because it's always all expecting the all rounders and bowlers to do do it. So
mm.
yeah, I think that's there. So again, we have to plan better for 2027.
Yeah, I think even Nuaindu Fernando, I think, was given a stint in that India series. He did play well.
Yes.
I think scored 250s, I think, in that series, but again was dropped after his performance in the New Zealand series. I don't understand why the selectors, I mean the selectors and the coaching staff keep on dropping players once they are doing well at a certain point, and then changing the openers yet again. So I don't understand. Also coming to a point, like, final question before ending this, like, we've always had Mahila coming up as a consultant just 1 or 2 weeks before the World Cup. He has not been in the I mean the coaching staff for many years, but we seem to appoint a consultant manager like Mahela just 1 or 2 weeks before the World Cup. But when we've seen, like, in the Asia Cup last year, Navid Nawaz and, I mean, Chris Silverwood, they delivered, and Sri Lanka won the Asia Cup. So I don't understand, like, because this has happened like for 2 years now. There's a conflict, I think, in thoughts when it comes between coaches and Mahila's thoughts. So I don't understand. Mahila has been given a job to be a consultant, but I don't think he has done that properly, in my opinion, because there's been several changes, like mismatches. Now a lot of people on social media said, like back in the 2020 World Cup, that he was switching positions, especially Banindu as a floater and all, but we don't see that much in the ODI World Cup. Much experimentation hasn't been done by Sri Lanka in the ODI World Cup. So your thoughts, like, on Mahila's role, like being consultant, and why Sri Lanka cricket is appointing Mahila as consultant coach consistently. I mean, just 1 or 2 weeks before the World Cup. That's my issue. I know Mahila has delivered in franchise cricket, especially for Mumbai Indians. He has a great cricketing knowledge, but I don't understand when you have a coaching staff of Chris Wilberwood, Navid Nawaz as the assistant coach, you have a batting coach, bowling coach, and then you have a consultant all of a sudden coming 1 or 2 weeks, and then there's a conflict in thoughts, and nothing is going well within the coaching staff. For your thoughts towards Sri Lanka Cricket Board appointing consultants just 1 or 2 weeks before, and then expecting them to just deliver based on just the World Cup matches.
Yeah, and then it all boils down to, the definition of the word consultant. A consultant
Yeah,
is meant to give, an expert opinion on something. So
yeah,
it's the coaches can take it as it is or completely disregard it. So that's the thing.
yeah,
Like Mahela is not there to coach the team.
yeah.
He's there to consult if needed.
Mm,
So I feel like Mahela's role is probably more rather. That's the thing. Like it's unfair to have him for like short stint, because you would want him especially for like long-term planning, like how to
yeah,
restructure the domestic cricket talent scouting, especially
yeah,
and if you're like before you go for important series, like you have to like make certain changes, like player recommendations, like who should play where. So that's his
mm,
role, rather than going on to the ground level and teaching basics, because that's not really expected from a
a
consultant.
consultancy. Yeah,
So yeah, that's basically like, I feel like his role is not being fully utilized, or he's not given enough time
to deliver. Yeah,
long term, because that's what I feel
mm,
like. In the end of the day, consultant is expected to work on long term planning rather than making short term decisions,
agree.
and then then Sri Lanka cricket like completely disregarding his existence until there's the next uh, important
World Cup.
tournament. So
Yeah.
I feel like
Mm.
uh, we need
Because they
like
bring Mahel
Sri Lanka has
always
to get their act
before
together on
the.
why they have him in the first place.
Yeah, because they always try to bring Mahila before ICC tournament. We saw that in the qualifiers also, them bringing Mahila as a consultant, then didn't actually give him much of a role in the team. Then he again comes in the ICC World Cup also. So that's why I don't understand the word consultant as what Mahila, because we see Pakistan, they brought Mickey Arthur as the team direct, and Mickey is with the team all the time, even though he's coaching in Derbyshire. He's always in conversation with the Pakistan cricket team. But we don't see that with Mahela, because Mahela is involved with Mumbai Indians. He's involved with the franchise cricket going on over there, and at the same time, also Sri Lanka cricket is also trying to get his services. So that's why I feel like maybe we can. I don't know what to say. I know, yes, Mahela has a great cricketing knowledge, but I think when we have a head coach, assistant coach, batting coach, bowling coach, spin coach, everyone, I don't know why we get a consultant just 1 or 2 weeks, and then there's so much conflicts going with the Chris Silverwood and Mahela, and there's nothing much going on, and that also ruins the team spirit. Also, I feel like, and the team composition when it comes to the World Cup as well, in my opinion. Yeah. But anyways, coming Akila, just last question before we wrap things up. It's already been past 1 hour, so we've been speaking. So Thoughts on Sri Lanka in the upcoming matches, especially we have Netherlands at Lucknow now coming Saturday. Then we have England coming up next Thursday, I think, in Bangalore. So your thoughts now? We've lost three matches. We probably have to forget that and move on. So how do you see? Because Netherlands, they are coming in after a good victory against South Africa. They played brilliantly. I think they didn't have four players prior to the qualifiers. I think several players were playing county. So we see Paul Van Meeken, we see Logan Van Beek doing brilliantly, especially in the power play. The bowlers, especially, are doing a good job for Netherlands. So I feel like this match, I think if Sri Lanka are going to win, the batters really need to step up. And I think the batting, when it comes to Netherlands batting, was I think the middle order, especially Scott Edwards, the captain, and especially on even Max O'Dowd, the opener. I think that middle order also, especially, I think they have a good batting depth. So your thoughts, analysis on the Netherlands match, and whether Sri Lanka has a good chance of beating Netherlands despite Netherlands beating Test playing nation like South Africa.
I
Yes.
I'm sorry. I think there's a small correction issue, but I
Yeah.
hope I can be heard.
Yeah. Yeah. We
So
can hear
yeah,
you. Yes.
from the question I got, from what I understand, I think yes, we shouldn't. Sri Lanka shouldn't underestimate the Dutch bowlers because, as already said, seven of them didn't play the qualifiers as they were playing county cricket. So at the end of the day, I think it's all about you know uh, not underestimating your opponent, right? Just because we
Yeah.
beat the Dutch twice this year already doesn't guarantee that you will win this time.
Mm.
Because if you see the way they play, they come into, they will get under your skin, especially when bowling. Even if you look at how they batted, especially at the end,
Mm.
like they scored a lot of runs towards the
Yeah.
end. So uh, with the utmost determination, they will definitely want to fight back really hard. So like that's the thing. You should treat your opponents like equal. You can't say that these are strong opponents, these are weak opponents. Like you need to
Agree.
give your best cricket, regardless of who they are.
Mm.
So yes, there is going to be a challenge because there are going to be quite a few bowlers who Sri Lanka has not faced in the qualifiers. So need to be a bit careful. Again, it's about rotating the strike, trying to minimize the dot balls a little less. um, Boundaries should be attempted with
Mm.
caution, and not lose focus once the runs start coming, because then that ends up in losing so many wickets, and the cycle keeps
Yeah.
repeating. So yeah, same thing with bowling. We need to like try to we need to try to win so that you kind of get the confidence. Okay, we did something right, we can do the same
Mm.
thing in the next match
Mm.
also. That's why it's important to. So yes, I really hope that the team comes strongly against Netherlands, build up their confidence, and continue with the World
Yeah.
Cup, and hopefully win a couple of more
Yeah,
matches.
hopefully Sri Lanka can win. Akhil, do you see Sri Lanka winning certain matches coming up in the World Cup, or do you see us losing all nine at the moment, the way that Sri Lanka going at the moment? Can we expect Sri Lanka to beat the likes of Afghanistan,
Yeah,
Bangladesh, or even, I mean, Netherlands? Hopefully, we can on Saturday the way that we performed this year, but I don't know the way that they performed back on Tuesday, whether they can continue that momentum and beat Sri Lanka. So never know. I mean, Sri Lanka and Netherlands haven't faced off yet in the World Cup, so cannot judge on that. The way that they've been performing so far has been incredible, because they gave a close fight to Pakistan as well. They beat South Africa. They're coming in good confidence. Whereas Sri Lanka, the confidence level is very low. No, we've changed captains. Don't know, Kusalmendis first match itself hasn't performed as a captain itself, so hopefully can do that against Netherlands. But any thoughts whether Sri Lanka can win matches? Like your predictions, do you think Sri Lanka will win some matches in the World Cup, or do you think that we'll end up last as we are currently are now right now.
I mean, I think I can form a better opinion based on how well we play against Netherlands. So I
Yeah.
still feel like we do have what it takes to beat Netherlands, but if we don't, I feel like after that only like one or two matches at best would be more realistic if we are unable to beat Netherlands. Would be already faced twice this year already.
Yeah.
So yeah, I feel like if we don't step up on Saturday, we will very likely be in the last of the table. So I feel
Hmm.
the worst, but also don't want that to be the reality.
The
So
ending point.
need
Yeah.
to
Yeah.
show up on Saturday, get some build our confidence again, because at the end of the, because no one likes to go into a match on after consecutive losses. Bring the team spirit back up,
Hmm.
and yeah, just play your best cricket regardless of who the opponent is.
Yeah, completely agree with your point. So we'll wrap things up. Yeah, Sri Lanka is not going through a good thing right now, especially they won 14 matches in a row. Then coming to the World Cup, they've lost three consecutive losses, and they're last at now, which is why we had to discuss on Sri Lanka cricket and what's going on right now. But hopefully, they come back on Saturday against Netherlands and win a match and lift up the Sri Lanka cricket fans, because cricket has been always our interest, and especially I mean, when it comes to Sri Lanka, I mean, cricket is our main sport. So, I mean, hopefully the boys can actually win a match, and hopefully they can win on Saturday against Netherlands and actually go up the table. So, thank you so much, Akila, once again for taking your time. It's almost 1.5 hours, but thank you so much once again for taking your time and discussing on Sri Lanka cricket and its matters right now and its situation right now in the World Cup. So thank you so much once again.
You're most welcome. Thank you for having me on sports breakdown as usual.
Yeah. All right, guys. So we'll wrap things up. So thank you so much, guys, once again. So do subscribe the Sports Breakdown, like, comment, and share, and do follow the sidelines as well on Facebook and on Twitter. Do follow them because it's very interesting thought posts when it comes to stats. Also, the sidelines gives brilliant stats and a lot of good information also about the past, especially sports people and especially on cricketers as well. So do follow the sidelines on all three platforms, social media platforms. So thank you so much, guys, and we'll see you